The sales associate's smile was sharp as glass when she said, "Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at a discount store," and Brenda's fingers froze on the crimson silk, the dress she'd dreamed of wearing when Jiang-Su introduced her as his future wife. She didn't know that across the city, the most dangerous man in Seoul was already tracking her location, and his patience was thinner than the lies they'd just told her. Brenda pushed through the glass doors, and the scent hit her first. French perfume. Leather, something floral she couldn't name. Crystal chandeliers caught the afternoon light, scattering it across marble floors so polished she could see her reflection. Rows of gowns hung like artwork, each one more stunning than the last. She dressed carefully this morning. Cream blouse, tailored black trousers, simple gold hoops, elegant but understated. She'd learned long ago that walking into spaces like this required a uniform, proof that you belonged, even when everything about the room whispered that you didn't. Two sales associates stood near a display of handbags. One, a woman with sharp cheekbones and sharper eyes, looked up. Her gaze traveled from Brenda's face to her shoes and back again. No smile, just assessment. Brenda kept walking. She'd come for one thing, the dress. She'd seen it online. Crimson silk with delicate beading along the neckline. It was perfect for the engagement party Jiang-Su was planning. The one where he'd finally introduce her to his world. Her phone buzzed. "Jiang-Su, how's the shopping, my love?" She smiled despite the cold air in the boutique. "Still looking. Found the one I want. Get it. Price doesn't matter." It never did with him, you know. But it mattered to her. Across the city, Jiang-Su Lee sat in a private room above a restaurant his family had owned for 3 generations. The table before him was empty except for a single glass of whiskey and a ledger containing names. People who owed him, people who had betrayed him, people who wouldn't see tomorrow. His second-in-command, Min-jun, stood by the door. "The shipment from Bususan is delayed. They're asking for more time." "They've had enough time." Jiang-Su's voice was quiet, which made it more dangerous. "Send a message." Min-jun nodded and left. Jiang-Su picked up his phone, scrolling to Brenda's contact. Her photo smiled back at him, taken at the hospital where they'd met, her volunteer badge still clipped to her shirt. She'd been reading to a child in the burn unit, and he'd been visiting one of his men who'd been caught in an explosion meant for him. She'd looked at him without fear, without judgment, just seeing him. He texted her back, "You deserve everything beautiful." What he didn't say was, "And I'll burn down anyone who suggests otherwise." Back at the boutique, Sati approached the dress. It hung alone on a mannequin near the back, spotlighted like a jewel. She reached out, fingers grazing the silk. "Excuse me." The voice came from behind, sharp, clipped. Brenda turned. The sales associate from earlier stood there, arms crossed. Her name tag read, "Hi, Jean. Can I help you?" Brenda asked politely. "I was about to ask you the same thing." Jean's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Are you looking for someone? Perhaps you have the wrong store." The words landed like stones. Brenda's hand fell from the dress. "Yes. No. I'm exactly where I meant to be. If you've ever walked into a place where you immediately felt unwelcome, drop a comment." "How did you handle it?" His eyes narrowed. "This section features pieces starting at 8 million won. Perhaps I can direct you to something more suitable for your budget." The words were wrapped in politeness, but the venom underneath was clear. Brenda's joy tightened. "I'd like to try on the crimson dress. That piece is reserved for serious buyers." Another associate appeared. The older manager wrote across her severe expression. Her name tag read Mrs. Choi. "We require proof of purchasing power before allowing fittings." Proof of Brenda stopped herself. Breathed. "I have money." "I'm sure you do, dear." Mrs. Choi's condescension dripped like honey. "But this boutique caters to a very specific clientele. Celebrities, chaebols, people standing." The unspoken words hung in the air. "Not people like you." Other customers had stopped browsing. A woman in a fur coat whispered to her companion. 2 others stared openly. Brenda felt heat crawl up her neck. This wasn't new. She'd faced variations of this her entire life, being followed in stores, questioned at gates, assumed to be the help rather than the guest. But today, it cut deeper. Because the dress wasn't just a dress, it was supposed to be her armor. When Jang Soo stood before his associates and said, "This is my future wife," it was supposed to make her feel like she belonged in his world of wealth and danger. Now she couldn't even belong in a boutique. Her phone buzzed again. "Jang Soo, everything okay?" Her fingers trembled as she typed, "Yes, all fine." The lie tasted bitter. Mrs. Choi gestured toward the door. "I really must insist. I'm not leaving without that dress." The manager's expression hardened. "Security." An unformed guard appeared from the back, hand already moving toward Brenda's arm. "Don't touch me," her voice cut sharp. The guard hesitated. Mrs. Choi stepped forward. "We have the right to refuse service. You're making our other customers uncomfortable." Brenda looked around. The woman in fur looked away. No one met her eyes. She could call Jang Soo. One word and this place would be ash by nightfall. But that wasn't who she was. She'd never hidden behind his power. Never used his name as a weapon. Pride straightened her spine. "Fine, I'll leave, but I want your corporate contact information. I'm filing a formal complaint." Mrs. Choi smiled. "Of course, security will escort you to the office." Red flags erupted in Brenda's mind. "That's not necessary. Store policy after a disruption. We review security footage before releasing anyone." "Disruption? I haven't done anything." "You refused to leave when asked. You became aggressive." Mrs. Choi turned to nearby customers. "You all witnessed her threatening behavior." "Yes." Heads nodded. Sheep following a shepherd. The guard's hand closed around Brenda's elbow. Not rough, but firm. Her heart slammed against her ribs. This was escalating into something dangerous, something that could follow her. She thought of Jang Soo world, how perception mattered, how whispers could destroy. She pulled out her phone with her free hand. Jang Soo answered on the first ring. "I need you." 2 words, barely a whisper. The line went dead silent. "Then, where are you?" His voice had changed. Gone was the gentle tone he used with her. This was the voice that made grown men confess sins. "Boutique Gangnam. Don't move. I'm coming." They put her in a windowless office that smelled like old paper and stale coffee. The guards stood outside. Mrs. Choi had disappeared, probably calling her lawyers. Brenda sat in a plastic chair surrounded by luxury she wasn't allowed to touch. Her phone buzzed constantly. Jang Soo's men, she realized, were getting details, locations, names. 15 minutes crawled by like hours. A younger associate, one who'd stayed silent during the confrontation, brought tea on a tray. "I'm sorry," she whispered, glancing toward the door. "Mrs. Choi is like this with everyone who isn't Korean or rich or connected." "Then why do you work here?" The girl's eyes dropped. "I have student loans and she pays well." She sat down for tea. "Your dress, the crimson one. It's beautiful. You'd look stunning in it." The kindness cracked something in Brenda's chest. "Thank you," she managed. The girl left quickly. Brenda lifted the teacup, then set it down untouched. Her hands were shaking too badly. She twisted the ring on her left hand, hidden beneath a glove Jang Soo had given her. He'd proposed 3 months ago in his penthouse, just the two of them. His dangerous empire locked outside for one perfect night. "I come with darkness," he'd warned. "People will use you to hurt me." "Let them try," she'd said. Now she understood. She wasn't being targeted because of Jang Soo. She was being erased because of herself, her skin, her perceived status, her audacity to want something beautiful. Outside, tires screeched. The building seemed to hold its breath. Then the boutique door opened and everything changed. Jang Soo entered like winter personified. Black suit, black shirt, no tie. His face was expressionless, but Brenda knew that look. She'd seen it once before when a man tried to follow her home from the hospital. That man had disappeared. The boutique went silent. Customers froze mid-step. Associates turned pale. Minjun and 3 others flanked him. Not thugs, but men in expensive suits whose eyes missed nothing. Mrs. Choi rushed forward, a smile plastered on. "Sir, I'm afraid we're handling a private matter." "Where is she?" 2 words. "Glacial." "I who?" Jang Soo pulled out his phone, showed Brenda's photo. "My fiancé. You have 30 seconds before I lose patience." Mrs. Choi's face was drained of color. "Fiancé, I didn't know." 20 seconds. Hajin pointed a shaking finger toward the back office. Jong-soo walked past them like they were furniture. He found Brenda standing, arms wrapped around herself. When their eyes met, his expression shifted, fury buried beneath concern. "Did they hurt you?" She shook her head. "Just humiliated me." He crossed to her in 3 strides, cooped her face. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For not being here sooner. For letting you walk into places alone where people can't see your worth." She leaned into his palm. "Jong-soo, don't do anything." "Anything? What?" His thumb traced her cheekbone. "Anything they deserve." A memory surfaced, their 3rd date. She'd asked about his work and he'd been honest, brutally. "So, I hurt people who hurt my family," he'd said. "I don't apologize for it." "What about people who hurt you?" "No one's been stupid enough lately." He smiled then. "But you, Brenda, you make me want to be gentler, quieter, better." Now that gentleness was gone, Jang-soo removed Brenda's glove slowly, revealing the platinum ring set with black diamonds. Rare, expensive, unmistakable. He kissed it. "You never have to hide this." "Hide us." "I wasn't hiding. I just wanted to buy a dress on my own terms. And now I want to leave." He studied her face, reading what she wouldn't say, then nodded. They emerged from the office together. The boutique had transformed into a frozen tableau. Mrs. Choi near the register. Hey Jean by the door. Customers pressed against walls. Minjun stood in the center, Paul phone in hand. Jong-soo's voice carried across the silence. "Names." Minjun read from his screen. Choi Mineo, a manager employed here 6 years, lives in Shodonggu with her husband and daughter, age 7. Park Hygiene Senior Associate, single mother in hospice care in Inghan. Stop. Mrs. Choi stepped forward, trembling. "Please, what do you want?" Jong-soo turned to Brenda. "What do you want?" She looked at the woman who'd treated her like trash. The associates who'd stood by, the customers who'd watched. "I want them to see me," she said quietly. "Really see me?" Jong-soo nodded to Minjun. "How much to buy this boutique?" "It's not for sale." Mrs. Choi gasped. Minjun was already typing. "Ownership held by retail group. Current valuation of 40 billion won. I can have papers ready in an hour." "Do it." Jang-soo looked at Mrs. Choi. "You're fired." Everyone who participated fired. Those who stayed silent. He glanced at the younger associate who'd brought tea. "They stay." "Yay!" Jen dropped to her knees. "Please. I didn't know." "You didn't need to know. You needed to be kind. What would you do if you suddenly owned the place that disrespected you? Comment below." Mrs. Choi's voice turned shrill. "You can't just walk in here and I can do anything I want." Jong-soo's tone never rose, which made it more terrifying. "Do you know who I am?" Silence. "My name is Lee Jong-soo. Look it up. While you're at it, look up what happens to people who hurt what's mine." Someone's phone dropped. The clatter echoed. Brenda touched his arm. Jong-soo. She saw it then. The monster he kept chained for her sake. The man who'd built an empire on fear and blood. The part of him she'd accepted but never wanted unleashed. Not for her. Not like this. "Please," she whispered. "Not this way." His jaw clenched. War played across his features. The need to destroy versus the need to honor her. Mrs. Choi sensed the shift. "We can compensate you. Money, whatever you want. I want you to remember her face." Jong-soo's hand found Brenda's. "Every time you judge someone by their appearance, remember the woman you humiliated was engaged to me. Remember that your assumptions almost cost you everything." He turned to Brenda. "The dress, the crimson one. Do you still want it?" She looked at it hanging on the mannequin, now tainted by the afternoon's ugliness. "No," she said, "I want something better." Understanding flickered in his eyes. "Then we'll go somewhere that deserves you." They moved toward the exit. Jun and his men parted like water. At the door, Jong-soo paused. "The purchase goes through, but I'm not keeping it." He looked at the young associate who'd shown kindness. "What's your name?" "Jaiwoo," she stammered. "Gao, as of tomorrow, you own this boutique. Run it better." The girl's eyes went wide. Outside, Seoul's evening air hit them like a baptism. Brenda breathed deep, shaking. Jong-soo guided her to his car, a black sedan, windows tinted, powerful, but understated. He opened her door, but she didn't get in. "You scared me in there," she admitted. He went still. I would never hurt you. I know, but that man inside, the one who listed their addresses, their families, I forget sometimes that he exists. He's always existed, Brenda. I told you what I am. I know what you are. I fell in love with all of you. The gentle man who reads to children and the dangerous one who protects his own. She met his eyes. But I need you to promise me something. Anything. Don't let them change us. Don't let their ignorance make you into only a monster. Jong-soo cupped her face with both hands. You see the best in me even when I can't because it's there. You gave that girl a boutique. You could have destroyed them, but you listened to me. I'll always listen to you. She leaned up, kissed him softly. Take me home, actually. He pulled out his phone, typed quickly. I have a better idea. 20 minutes later, they stood in a private atelier Brenda had never heard of. An elderly designer greeted them warmly. No questions about money or status. Just what are we creating today? Brenda described the dress she'd imagined. The designer sketched, fabric samples appeared, and slowly something new took shape. Better than the crimson gown because it was chosen freely. 3 weeks later, Brenda descended the stairs of Jong-soo's penthouse in a dress that shimmered like liquid ruby. Custom-made, hand-beaded, hers. Jong-soo waited at the bottom in a tailored black tuxedo. And when he saw her, the dangerous Mafia boss disappeared. Only the man remained, eyes soft, a genuine smile. You're stunningly beautiful, he murmured. You're biased. Completely. The engagement party filled the rooftop garden. Associates, business partners, politicians, people who commanded empires. They parted as Jong-soo led Brenda through his hand, never leaving the small of her back. He stopped at the center, raised his glass. Most of you know me as someone to be feared. That's intentional. His voice carried across the crowd. But tonight, I introduce you to someone who makes me want to be more than fear. This is Brenda, my fiancé, my future. And if you're smart, you'll treat her with the respect she's always deserved. Applause erupted. Brenda smiled, leaning into him. Subtle? I don't do subtle things where you're concerned. Later, as they danced beneath string lights, she whispered, Did you hear about the boutique? Is doing well? She fired everyone who was there that day. Hired new staff with a policy. Treat every customer like they belong. Good. She also sent me a gift. Brenda pulled back to look at him. The crimson dress as an apology. Do you want it now? She shook her head. I donated it to a charity auction for women's shelters. Jong-soo's thumb traced her spine. You're remarkable. I'm just someone who knows her worth. You helped me remember that. The music swelled around them. Seoul glittered like fallen stars. Somewhere across the city, a boutique operated under new management with a sign in the window. Everyone deserves beauty. And in a penthouse garden, a Mafia boss held his future wife close and thought about how love was the most dangerous weapon he'd ever wielded. Because for her, he'd burn the world. But with her, he learned to build instead. Love this story? Drop a comment about a time someone underestimated you and how you proved them wrong. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories about dignity, power, and unexpected love.